Hello friends, thanks for joining me again. I'm sure if you've been with me for any amount of time, you've probably seen this painting. And we worked on it a couple of times. In part one, we painted the entire thing, including a different version of the clouds that you see here. And then in part two, I reworked the sky to something a little bit more appealing. I'm still not completely happy with this sky. Right now you see that it's kind of split into the clouds. There's this line that goes through there. It separates a little bit. It doesn't give it that feeling of tall majesty that I was kind of going for. So we're going to rework this one more time and we're going to see what happens. If you like my content, go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you've got any thoughts or feelings, or if you want to see something specific. Share this stuff with someone who you feel can really benefit from some of these fundamentals. I'm Kendall Stump, and welcome to the Stump Project. All right, we're going to jump right in and get right into the colors. First of all, we're going to be using titanium white, burnt sienna, and a little bit of Payne's gray. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to add a little bit of, I want to have the option of adding a little bit of darkness to this if I need to, mainly around the bottom. What I want to do is create a little bit more of a darkness here at the top and a vibrance, the darkness here at the bottom and a vibrance at the top. Before I even get started doing that, I'm going to put a little bit of liquin, this stuff right here, and I'm just going to apply this stuff where I think I'm going to be painting. And now what this is going to do, it's going to help the titanium white dry a little bit faster. Titanium white is a really slow drying paint, and so any help that we can give it, the better off we're going to be. So I'm just putting a nice thin coat. Right over that area that I think I'm going to be working in. I'm going to take a little bit of this burnt sienna, a tiny bit of this Payne's gray, and maybe just a little bit of the titanium white. And I want to come in here, and we're just going to haphazardly, well, I say haphazardly, it's not haphazardly. What I'm looking for is a different brush. First of all, I want a fan brush. I'm looking for a different brush. I want a fan brush. I want to be able to, well, you'll see. It's going to dance a little bit more. I want a little bit more feathered look, a little bit lighter look. So fan brush, I think it's going to help us do that. But it's not haphazard. It's not random. Like I said, I want to go from a little darker thing down here, and we'll bring it up. And as we get up, we'll get lighter and lighter. No, we'll get lighter and lighter as when we add the white to it. It will make a little bit more sense. So just let your fan brush just kind of dance and turn and twist, and just add whatever, however your heart's telling you. Just that's what it needs to be. I'm adding a little bit of white right now because I'm just trying to join these two tones. You see, I had this tone here and this tone up here. I'm just trying to find what's that happy little medium in there, and then we can adjust it further as we go along. So just by adding a little bit of white, plus the titanium white is an opaque paint. The burnt sienna, not so much. So that's why we're getting a lot of this. It's showing through. The background, the existing painting is showing through. It's because it's just the nature of the burnt sienna. So pay attention to your paints as you're if you want to call this a glaze, if you want to call this a rework, or what have you. Pay attention to this because it will affect your outcome. So as I'm looking here, I'm seeing this lighter ridge right here, and I'm kind of liking that, but I want to darken on top of that just a little bit, because what that's going to do is going to bring this bottom ridge like it's forward, like it's a little bit more geometry here, so it's like it's swooping in and then up into this big cloud. So just by adding this darkness here, we kind of push back this base. As we look down here, we can kind of see the shadows are leaning to the left. So we're going to keep that in mind as we lighten this area right here. So as we darken this up, we're going to go a little bit heavier on the left side. And then to see, I'm going to start blending this. Now I'm going to take this, my 2-inch natural bristle brush, and I'm just going to start blending some of this. Just real soft. Just fluff it as you will, just real soft, just let it. And then this bottom part here, I'm just going to go side to side. The closer you get to the horizon, the more these things tend to flatten out, because it's going further in the distance, so you don't see a lot of this height variance. So this right here is probably what's going to be closest to the viewer. This face of the cloud is going to be closest. So we'll see more of it. And take a paper towel and just wipe off your brush. Get some of that little extra paint off of there. Your fan brush too. Just get some of that off. We'll load up on the titanium white. And we'll start putting some highlights in there. Do a little bit and then wipe off your brush. You're going to pick up some of that wet paint that's on there, and then that's going to just translate to your palette, and then it's going to just not do what you want it to do. You're not going to get those light colors. Just make a couple strokes, wipe off your brush, make a couple strokes and wipe off your brush. And wherever you think that the light is going to hit coming from this direction, like if we want it to come in here like that. Remember, we want it to be a little bit darker at the bottom, so I'm not going to go too crazy heavy down here. Just want it to lighten it up just a little bit. And then we'll soften it again. I want to maintain the vibrancy, the energy. I want to maintain the energy of the first painting. So I'm going to use a palette knife and just come in here and just scrub in some shapes. Remember, I wanted this to be a little bit forward, so I'm going to lighten this. This is how I put it on the last time with a palette knife, and I thought it worked really well. I captured some randomness and some energy, and I liked it. So I'm just going to keep doing that, just to kind of keep the continuity of the art just the same. And this is the palette knife that I'm using, nothing fancy. And this is going to give you some nice shapes too. gonna scrub it in here and there. And then we'll blend this. I'm just trying to shape, just kind of get a fluid sense of motion as it's going through there. Wipe off your knife before you go into too many other colors. Okay, I'm gonna take a 2-inch brush. I'm just lightly softening some of these. Trying to get rid of some of those knife marks and brush strokes. Not all of them. I like some of the feathers. Take off some of the extra paint. Because at this point, all we're trying to do is just soften this just a little bit. Go with the motion that the direction of the motion that you're trying to achieve. Because your brush strokes will help translate that. Little circular motions if you're trying to blend out a little bit. Don't go too crazy with that because you want some of that harshness. Well, I do, at least in this painting, some of those harder edges, but you don't have to be all over the place. I'm just going to dip into my titanium white just a little bit. I like that little glow effect that we're having right here in this. We want it a little bit lighter at the top, so I'm just going to bring my titanium white right up here. Mix it, just mix it right on the canvas. Just mix it right there. And now you can see more of a gradient that's going from the darker at the bottom. And then as we move up, we get a bit lighter and lighter and lighter. And as you blend this, if you see here, you can get some streaks. If your paint's a little thick, you can get some little wispy things, and that's awesome because when you blend this out like this, just by pulling it, it'll blend out a really nice little wispy cloud-like tendrils, and it will only be doing you favors. See, like this here, I pulled it, and it pulled that nice swoop up Goes right along with the energy that you want, that I was trying to achieve in these clouds. I like that. Just to show you something else that you can do, you can also use your finger and just go right into a little bit of the titanium white and just do a little bit of finger painting. Now, what I want to preface this, I want to say that not all paints are created equal. Some paints are toxic. You don't want to do this with some paints. Sometimes you might want to use a rubber glove if you like this technique. But you want to stay away. You don't do this with cobalts. Don't do this with cadmiums. Those are toxic, and you want to keep those away from your skin when at all possible. A lot of paint though is non-toxic. Primary binder in oil paints is going to be linseed oil. So don't fret about it too much. Just keep those other things in mind. Do some research. If you happen to be allergic to oil paints, obviously you want to try to limit any kind of contact like this. Do your research, and you know what's best for you. But you get some really cool effects by doing some finger painting. A little bit more control than what you would with a brush. Now obviously you can see that I've got a little bit of burnt sienna on my fingers. Make sure you wipe it off before you dip back into your titanium white. You just put it on where you think you need it, and just rub it into the canvas. Keep in mind that put it on where you think the light is going to hit. So just don't put it on just to put it on. Like if I want this area right here to kind of be like wrapping around a cloud, I would think that maybe light's going to hit this area a little bit more. So I'll bring it out and just let that light hit it. And then you can use your finger and just kind of feather this paint out just a little bit to kind of soften it as the light starts to break around that curve. And then just let that happen. And then the same with the other way, as this goes around, if you want to darken that up to kind of just demonstrate some more additional shadow back here, you can do that too. But remember, don't try to evenly light this. Remember we wanted this darker towards the bottom. So we'll make sure that we don't get this too light. Clean off our brush here. And again, in the direction, in the direction of the motion, we'll just pull this a little bit. Just a little bit. And then right underneath that line, we'll soften it. Because I want to maintain that edge right there. It's kind of defining the edge of the cloud. And with tiny little circular motions like this. Just using the corner of your brush, we'll just blend the under part down. Okay, it's a nice twist in the, you kind of feel that twist in the cloud. This makes it really super interesting. Now the last thing that I want to do is clouds aren't necessarily, I mean, I won't say it's never, but clouds aren't not necessarily just framed on your palette. I'm sorry, on your canvas. So I'm going to add a little bit of dark right down here, just to kind of allow it to exist off of the canvas. So using the same idea, darker at the bottom, darker tones at the bottom, so which means more, in this case, more of the burnt sienna straight out of the tube. And then as we get up, I'll scrape up some of the titanium white. Something like that, and then wipe off our brush. We can fluff this. Or if you want to blend a little bit more, just use that circular motion with your brush. Keep it flat on the horizon, or this is the cloud ceiling. Take some of the extra paint off, putting it right on the far back stuff of the horizon. If there's any paint left on my brush, it'll just pick it up right in there. And if you happen to get something on someplace where you didn't want it, you just wipe it off. And that looks much better to me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed everything we went over and that you use this information to create something awesome in your own style. You can find inspiration anywhere. Don't be afraid to look. Remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and check out my other videos. Leave a comment if you have a question, some feedback, or if you want to see something specific. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you next time.